Hello, everybody, and welcome to CIT 141 Visual Concepts for Game Design. I'm Professor Ulsh, and I will be going over the basics of Maya today, some of the basic tools and functions you can use in Maya to start creating 3D objects, which we'll be using in this class to make our scenes. Um, the first time that you open up Maya, you'll see this screen here. If you have any scene files that already exist, they'll be displayed here. But we don't, so we'll start by clicking on New Scene, and that will open up a scene window, which will contain our viewport in the center and a bunch of different tools and things that we can start using. The first thing we want to look at is the different primitive objects up here. These are your basic 3D objects that you'll be using to create 3D models in Maya. So if we click on one of these, it will drop it into our scene. And then from there, we can modify it, change its shape, size, and things like that. The first thing that you'll want to know, let's talk about some of the camera movements. So you can rotate the camera by pressing Alt and left click to drag around the object. If you press Alt and the center mouse button, you can pan the camera around. And if you want to zoom in or dolly the camera, you can use Alt and right click and drag into zoom. You can also use your scroll wheel on your mouse to zoom in as well. All right. So next up, if you look at the outliner on the left side here, you'll see all of the objects that are in our scene. You can select those different objects by clicking on them here or clicking on them in the scene. When you click on an object, you will find attributes and things inside of the channel box and attributes editor over here on the right side. So if we click on the attributes editor, we can see things such as your different mesh controls. And if we go here to PCube1, you'll see the transformation attributes. Changing the values in this will change the size, shape, or rotation of the object. So for instance, if we were to change our scale on the X to 2 and on the Y to 10, all of a sudden we have a very, very large rectangle. We can also edit these attributes using the toolbox on the left-hand side. So if we wanted to change the translation, the rotation, and the scale, we can do that here. There are three major transformation attributes that we will reference during the course when creating and placing objects. They are translation, rotation, and scale. Translation is its position in the scene. Rotation is how it rotates based off of its axis, and scale is how large it is. Each attribute is controlled using an X, Y, and Z axis. So the red is the X value, the green is the Y value, and the blue is the Z value. If you use any of these handles, you can edit specifically that axis. If you wanted to do more than one at a time, you can click on the faces here between these handles, and you can move things or change the size of things on more than one axis at a time. And if you click on the center here, you can do all three axes at once. So if we wanted to scale this all together, you can just click and drag on the center handle and it'll change everything. Using the Modeling Toolkit tab on the right side here or the Poly Modeling shelf above the viewport, you can add or remove complexity to your model. Like so. All right, so for this next part, I'm going to drop a sphere into our scene. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we change the shape of objects using component mode. So to get into component mode, you will use this, click this button right up top here to select by component type. And now you'll see the grid around the object has turned blue. From here, you can edit individual components of the object and change its shape. These types of objects or types of components are vertices, which are the points in between these lines. A little hard to see with my mouse highlighter. Edges, which are the lines between the points that create a shape, and faces, which are all of that together. We use these three objects to get into the fine details and everything in 3D modeling. So if I wanted to, say, grab this face and then go into here to extrude it out, using the toolbox here, we can do that. We can also scale this corner down like this, and now we have a point. We would do that with inside of component mode. If we wanted to select one kind of component, you can right click and open up the marking menu. And from here, you can select if you want to work with vertices, edges, or faces. And that will mean that you are only selecting objects of that type. If I wanted to select multiple objects at once, I can hold Shift and click individual objects. And now I can manipulate multiple objects at once. You can also marquee select, which is dragging and selecting multiple objects within a marquee box. And now I can move and edit these all at once. Inside of component mode, you will be editing individual components and changing the shape of an object. If you wanted to edit the entire object at once, you will want to go back to object mode, which you can do by clicking this button, the center button here next to your component mode. Or if you hold right click and pull up your marking menu, you can click object mode here, and now you're back in object mode, and anything that you do will affect the entire object at once. If you wanted to go back to component mode again, you can do the same thing with the marking menu. Hold right click and then select multi here, and now you're back in marking menu or component menu. And then from there, you can edit individual components. So that's going to do it for basics inside of Maya. One thing that I forgot to mention when using different transform controls is let's go back to I want to get out of this. Okay, there we go. Let's go back to object mode, and currently I have translation, the move tool, active, so I can translate where the object is. If I wanted to switch quickly to rotation, that you would hit the E button as a hotkey, and now you can rotate. And if you wanted to go to scale, you can hit R, and R will open up the scale. And then if you wanted to go back to translation, you can hit W, and W will bring up the translation widget. That is everything for the basics of Maya. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Next week, we will be going into how to create a simple 3D object with a little bit more design in mind than what I did here. Until then, thanks everybody, and we'll see you at the next video.